Hey girls, it's Ben. We're gonna do a baking recipe today. So the very first thing I do want to say is this is an activity you should do with your parents, your guardian, or another responsible adult. Do not bake or cook alone by yourself unsupervised. We're gonna make sugar cookies today. Here is the recipe that you can look at if you want to screenshot that or just pause it and look at it later because I'm going to edit this, and what's going to be about a half hour for me is probably going to be just a couple minutes for you. The very first step we've got to do is set our oven to bake, and we're going to set that at 350. And my oven goes right to 350. So I'm going to hit bake, and I'm going to see you again when the oven is preheated. Alright, we're still waiting for the oven to preheat. I did make one small mistake with the ingredients list that I showed you. So as you can see, we're using 2 3/4 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda back there, half a teaspoon of baking powder right here, 1 cup of unsalted butter, a cup and 2 tablespoons of sugar back here. We are using 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, which I have here. We've got our egg. We've got vanilla extract. We're going to actually have another 1/4 cup of sugar. We're going to set that aside because eventually we're going to roll our cookie dough around in the sugar. And I will say now, please do not consume raw cookie dough. Actually, fun fact, it's the flour that you have to worry about, the raw flour more so than the egg. Just don't eat raw cookie dough. It's not very good for you. The other thing that I forgot on this list, we're also going to need half a teaspoon of salt, and we're using unsalted butter. We're going to put a little bit of salt in it because that's used in the chemical reaction for baking. While we're waiting for our oven to continue preheating, we're actually going to melt our butter down because we want it to be room temperature when we mix it in with the rest of everything. So I will be melting the butter, and I will be back. Alright, so we got our butter out of the microwave. It's still warm and it's still not quite fully melted, but that's okay. We don't want it to be hot. We want it to be room temperature when we mix everything together. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take our flour, I'm going to take our baking powder, our baking soda, and that little pinch of salt I talked about, and they're going to wind up in this bowl mixed together. And then after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the brown sugar and the regular sugar, and they are actually going to go in with the butter, and we're going to whip those together into a nice fine mixture. I'm going to do that off screen because I need 2 hands, and you will see the results of the product at the end. So just a reminder, in this bowl we're going to put the 2 3/4 cups of flour, the teaspoon of baking soda, the half a teaspoon of baking powder, and the half a teaspoon of salt. And in the butter we're going to put the 1 cup and 2 tablespoons of sugar and the 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. I will see you again in just a second. Alright girls, what we have in here, we've got our salt, our baking soda, our baking powder, and lots of our flour. And in here we've got our 2 types of sugar, the brown sugar and the white sugar, and the butter. And what I'm going to do in just a second, while I can show you this, is I'm just going to kind of give this a little bit of a shake just to mix everything around because it's dry ingredients and it's nice and easy. But I'm going to do what's called creaming the sugar, creaming the butter, and what that means is I'm going to take a whisk, and in here I am going to whip all of this up into a nice fine sort of creamy texture sort of thing, and you will see that again in just a second. Alright girls, it probably won't look very different to you, but the egg and vanilla has now been mixed into our wet ingredients. What we're going to do now is we're going to come over here, we're going to mix the wet ingredients and the dry ingredients. We're going to use our handy dandy rubber spatula to get all of that into there, and we're going to make a big old cookie dough ball in here, and you will see what that looks like in just a second. Alright girls, so we're almost ready to bake our cookies. As you can see here, I've got a nice cookie dough ball. It should hold itself together. It shouldn't be sticky like bread dough, though. It actually feels, I mean, frankly, it feels kind of greasy and kind of grainy because it's mostly butter and sugar. But it's not sticky to the touch. It's just got kind of like a greasy feel to it. It actually smells very, very good at this point. I feel like I should add an addition to my other safety thing at the beginning of the video. Do not consume raw cookie dough. It's not good for you. Actually, it's a common misconception that it's the egg that's bad for you. You got to watch out for raw flour, actually. Raw flour can contain E. coli, which is not good, and usually they actually put a warning right on the flour not to consume it raw, so don't do it. Do not eat the raw cookie dough. Over here, I've got my baking sheets with parchment paper because you don't want this stuff sticking right to the baking sheet. It's not good. The cat bowl has the sugar that I talked about earlier, and what I'm going to do for the next step is I'm going to take a little, probably about, that big or so, about the size of like a golf ball size piece of the dough, roll it around in the sugar, and then put it on the baking sheets, and then we'll be ready to bake. Alright, as you can see, we've got our cookies laid out all nice and happy, well separated from each other so they don't bake into each other. And we're going to put these in the oven for, the recipe says 8 to 12 minutes. I do 9 minutes, that's what works in my oven usually. Every oven's going to be a little bit different. I will say at 8 minutes they usually are a little bit underdone, and anything at or above 12 minutes they usually kind of get burnt. So I'm going to throw these in the oven, and the next time you see them, they will be some baked cookies. Alright girls, I actually left these in for closer to 11 minutes because I think I made them a little bit bigger than usual, so they took an extra minute. I also smushed a couple when I took them out of the oven, but that's okay. So what's going to happen with these is they're going to cool down for about 20 minutes. They're also still cooking on the inside. It's called carryover cooking. And then after about 20 minutes or half an hour, you can enjoy one of the fresh baked cookies. Again, please do this with an adult, somebody responsible. Please don't eat the raw cookie dough, and above all else, be safe in the kitchen. Alright girls, have a good week, and I can't wait to see you all again soon.